Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video. This is part one of a three-part video essay called The Genius of Boruto. This first part is basically just called The Genius of the Boruto Manga. With all of that said, let's just get into the video. Naruto is actually one of the highest ranked and best-selling manga series of all time. And the characters in it and the story it tells is actually really important to me and many other people. And the creator of it, Masashi Kishimoto, as many fans know, is basically a genius. And he's often using a ton of different religious themes, all mixed together with folk tales and myths of Japan and other countries. He really knows how to blend everything in a unique and basically creative way. In short, Kishimoto is basically a genius, and the sequel series to Naruto is as well, and in many different ways. Like I said, this is part one of a three-part essay, basically just showing the genius of the sequel to Naruto, which is, as you guys know, Boruto. In this first part, we'll be talking, like I said, about the manga and how it's pretty different from most other mangas that came before, and a little bit of the mangas that's coming around the same time it's coming out. It also does things in a very unique way. You see, the Naruto manga was released weekly and written and drawn by Kishimoto for the most part, with some help from his assistants. However, weekly manga is often really time consuming and puts a lot of strain on the entire team. So with the release of Boruto, it was decided that it would be a monthly manga, and this allows them to be able to give us double the page count and not overwork them. Now, even though Kishimoto is not fully writing the Boruto manga or drawing it, he's still extremely involved in it. He supervises everything related to Boruto and has to approve of every single thing that happens in it. He also helps give ideas for the plot and some character developments and characters in general. And he also supervises the anime as well. In other words, this is still basically his story. But just because he's not fully writing it or drawing it doesn't mean that the manga isn't good. In fact, the manga has been getting praise from just about everyone, and while there are some haters, the majority of the fandom does endure the Boruto manga. However, one of the common complaints is the manga is monthly. Many fans do know how hectic the weekly manga schedule is, but they still often wish for the Boruto manga to be weekly or even bi-weekly due to the pacing in it, as it does have more of a weekly manga pace compared to other monthly mangas. But the team uses this to their advantage in doing something a little bit different, especially with the Boruto manga, and that for the most part hasn't really been done before. See, the manga is usually the main source of a story, and the anime ends up adapting it. The manga usually shows all the development and all of the arcs that are canon, even the ones that don't really push the main story forward. That's usually how mangas and animes work. The anime adapts everything from the manga, and the extra things that's not in the manga is often considered non-canon to the story. But we'll talk more about that in parts 2 and 3. The Boruto manga, however, is only showing highlights of the main plot points of the story, literally only the most important things in a rapid format. Yet, they still reference to things that we've never seen in the manga, and we're often introduced to characters out of nowhere who don't even have introductions, but it's characters that the cast knows really well. The reason for this is because they have to really focus on the main plot and can't fully develop much of anything else. That's where the anime comes in, but we'll talk about that in part 2 and 3. So because of this, the manga is very ahead of the anime, especially due to the manga's rapid pace. But due to the way they handle their monthly manga, and the way that the writers are in general in adding so much real-world mythology and lore into the story while trying to tell their own story, they end up being very limited in this monthly format since they only have so much space they can really explain things with dialogue boxes. So how do they go about doing all of this if they're very limited to this format? The answer is they take advantage of it. They do something that's basically fundamental in storytelling, and that's the old saying of show don't tell. In short, they show us the details without straight out saying it for the most part. This is the point in the essay where there will be spoilers for the Boruto series, so if you guys aren't caught up, especially with the manga, you might want to check out the other videos, which has a little bit less spoilers, or just catch up. Or if you don't care about spoilers, continue watching it. Anyway, the manga really focuses on this concept of show don't tell like a lot, especially due to how they have to limit themselves in telling only the main plot points and nothing else. And while they do have exposition with a ton of dialogue explaining what's going on, for the most part, they really have to balance it out. But it's moments like this where we see, for example, Ishiki manifesting a table without true indication of what he just did, and then many chapters later, we see him manifest pillars to crush Kashin. And that's where he finally explains his powers. It's like the moment where his dojutsu, which is his eye power, appears for the first time right away. We can see that it's a very unique pattern, and this pattern was first seen a few chapters before all over his resting place. And as this particular battle goes on, we see him activate his dojutsu, and then he explains it in a very subtle way, and we can assume that there's more to his eye power than he says, due to some real world influences on who he is and his abilities. This whole battle, in fact, against Ishiki and Kashinkoji is a perfect example of how balanced they are at telling the story by showing us things and also telling us things. It is also a perfect example of how they're incorporating many worldwide cultural things in Boruto as they did with Naruto. Ishiki's eye is, like I said, unique in many ways, and many fans noticed it even resembles a Dharma wheel, which is used in many cultures and religions such as Hindu and Buddhism. Ishiki himself, as well, is similar to a person called Isun Bushi, who is part of a big Japanese folk tale. And many of the other people of his race, the Otsutsuki race, are similar to many other folktale people from Japanese legends and folktales. Even Karma in the series has ties with traditional Hana tattoos and real-world karma concepts. Basically, there's a ton of things in Boruto that call towards real-world things, and they show us this without speaking it out loud for quite a while. I won't go into too much details on these references since there's already so many good videos on YouTube explaining them, so I do suggest you check them out. They do this not only for real world things, but for in-story things too. For example, slightly showing us markings on Kashin's eyes, and him having very specific abilities that not many people know how to do, and it's only a few specific people that do know how to do them. They showed us all these clues to basically tell us who he is. Same thing with Naruto and his abilities. You really have to look to see what powered up state he is in, because it's all so subtle from one another, and he doesn't call it out. Other examples are characters knowing techniques and abilities we've never even seen them learn, such as Sarada with the 3-tome Sharingan and doing the Chidori. There is even universe building hints such as the Otsutsuki wall that Sasuke finds containing icons of the Otsutsuki clan members, but you really have to pay attention to see what they're showing. Which is how the Otsutsuki come in pairs and how one of these symbols was destroyed, and later on we find out why. Things like this really means that you have to really pay attention to see what they're trying to tell you visually. It makes it easier for them to use their limitations of only showing us the main plot while still adding important information that they can't add by dialogue, like they would if they were not fully, focusing only on the main plot, or if the manga was weekly instead of monthly. This type of hidden clues that you have to really look for makes the manga and the series as a whole more engaging, more creative, and lets the reader or viewer feel as though they were there with the characters trying to understand what's going on without any explanations. And when you finally piece together everything that's going on, you realize how far you were from the actual thing or how close you were. It allows the fandom to really create theories and really dissect everything. Heck, as an example, as of episode 160 of the anime and chapter 48 of the manga, we still don't even know what these face markings on the inner Kara members mean. The only thing that we know is that they're Roman numerals, but that's all. There's even hints all over that do give us some insight into what they are, but nothing really has been mentioned on it. But we do know that they do serve a purpose. Using this format to tell a story really brings out more details than people will think, but it's not the only way they're telling the story. And the story overall has been fantastic, but we'll talk more about that in parts 2 and 3 as well. What I will say for now is that they're doing a fantastic job in telling this story. And while the whole show don't tell concept and a mix of legends, myths, religion, and culture in a story is not new to Naruto or other animes and mangas or anything at all, basically, it is still impressive how much research the Boruto series team does and implements all those details into everything so fluidly. Not only that, but there's also the beauty and genius of the Boruto manga in that they're fully embracing the limitations that they have given themselves to still be true to the spirit of Naruto, showing a mix of all those real world things with theirs in hidden context clues, plus taking full advantage of the art and viewing the scene to show us all little context clues. That, along with the story, is what makes the Boruto manga genius. Because of them embracing this format and showing us tiny little details that they have worked so hard to show us silently, requiring us to really analyze everything, they pushed past their limitations and are really delivering an amazing lore and story and series in general. With all of that said, I hope this helps bring some insight into what's making the Boruto manga great. This will be definitely the weakest of the three essays, as it's just focused only on the manga, and there isn't much I can say about the manga without really talking about the anime and the series as a whole. So there is still a lot more to be said, especially in part three, where I do talk about everything. In part two, we will be talking about the anime and how that too is genius. So I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of hate for that, but just bear with me and just sit back, relax, and enjoy it, okay? Until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Talk to you guys next time.